Let's check in on what is happening in the markets, and we start off with the JSE that is trading in the green today. One of the things that investors are digesting is the inflation print. Some good news there with a cooling down, a significant cooling down that we have seen. In July, we saw the inflation accelerating 4.6% year on year. That is below the acceleration of 5.1% that we saw in June. So getting close to that midpoint mark of the SARB's target range. So as I mentioned, the all share trading in the green up more than 0.25%. That largely being carried by the industrial 25 advancing more than 0.5%. Financial 15 they're taking up higher by 0.4%. Backing that overall trend is the resources 10 complex with a decline of almost 0.33%. Let's take a look at what is happening in the U.S. markets, and of course we are awaiting those that all important the Fed minutes from the last meeting that the Fed had, I think in late July, of course leading up to the September meeting. Now, also in company news that came out of the U.S. Earnings that are still trickling in. From the retail space particularly, we did see Target surprising to the upside with its earnings, but Macy's disappointing investors with a softer sales forecast for the full year. But we are seeing a sea of green ahead of those Fed minutes tonight at around 8 p.m. South African time. S&P 500 up by more than 0.25%. The tech-heavy Nasdaq with a gain of 0.29%, and the Dow trading relatively flat, just 0.05% above that flat line. Let's take a look at what is happening in the European markets, and a significant turnaround that we are seeing from yesterday's session. That positive sentiment filtering through to those markets as well. FTSE 100, they're rebounding 0.15%. The CAC 40 with a gain of almost 0.6%, and the DAX up by more than 0.5%. Let's take a look at what is happening on the currency scene, and we start off with how the rand is doing against some of the major currencies. A little bit of weakness coming through to the rand, but still hovering around that 17 rand 80 level against the US dollar. Now at 17 rand 84, against the pound at 23 rand 31, and against the euro at 19 rand 86. Let's take a look at what is happening with the other currency pairs, starting off with the euro dollar at 1.11, pound dollar at 1.3, and the yen just above 145 against the US dollar. We will be taking a closer look at that market picture after the break.